The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild released at the time of making this video around 6 whole years ago, and it still remains as one of the most innovative and creative games of all time. And today, I want to go over an aspect of the game that I always find myself coming back to: the Great Plateau. The Great Plateau services as the starting area of the game where you learn all of the basic mechanics, all in order to get one of the most useful items in the game, the paraglider. An item that lets you glide great distances across Hyrule, letting you soak in all of the beauty this game holds as long as you have the stamina. This game holds some of the greatest moments in all of gaming, as Breath of the Wild would serve as the foundation of many other open world games to come, trying to replicate that same lightning in a bottle that Breath of the Wild managed to catch. So, Breath of the Wild opens up with this faint, glimmering light from Zelda waking up Link as he's been resting there for 100 years straight, and the game throws you into a little section as you get your bearings together. The section doesn't really do much, as all it does is give you the Sheikah Slate and some optional clothes and sends you on your merry way with a beautiful shot of the overworld and the grand journey you're about to embark on, with a grand orchestra behind it selling the freedom and mystery of this world. Although this part is necessary, as this area allows you to move around in a controlled environment and gives you a taste of the two main mechanics you'll constantly use throughout the game: the inventory and climbing. The way this game introduces you to such is such in an insignificant way, it barely even registers that the game is actually teaching you something. The Great Plateau acts as a giant playground for the player to run around in, as you can test basically everything in this isolated land. The game doesn't offer to hold your hand as you figure things out for yourself, unlike previous Zelda games would attempt to do. One of the only other games I can really think of doing something similar like this on this big of a scale is Elden Ring. In that game, once you leave the cave you wake up in, outside of the Cave of Knowledge, there is nothing stopping you from going where you want to go, and it's that freedom that gives Breath of the Wild's Great Plateau such an edge over many other games. The freedom is first showcased in the very first moments that you step out of the chamber, as the game alludes to this mysterious old man in the distance on a linear path absolutely chock full of things for the player to interact with as they go down to meet this old man. But what if you don't want to go that route? What if you wanted to climb down or climb up? Well, you can. Nothing is stopping you from forging your own path, making your playthrough absolutely unique to everyone else's. You can go anywhere and do absolutely anything. The player can go and interact with the environment in any which way imaginable and basically test things to their own liking. Maybe set something on fire, knock down some bees that attack enemies, freeze to death in the Arctic, anything to your heart's content. Well, restricted within the plateau, as you can't leave yet. You have to complete these 4 shrines located within the map, as once you've explored a tiny bit and gathered your bearings, Zelda snaps you back to reality and reminds you that the game needs to be played, and tells you to go look at your map. Once you do, you're directed to go to this pile of rubble, which turns into a massive tower that spawns many other towers across the map, inciting a great feeling of discovery and wonder within the player. And this also introduces 2 more central mechanics to the game: time and weather. Hey, editing Doe here. Here's something incredible that I also found. It seems very minor, but this is just something I found out while recording. While heading to the Sheikah Tower, there's a very severe lack of music or even ambience, but as you approach slowly to the tower, a soft, ambient, kind of mystical song kicks in as you approach it. And this isn't just like by coincidence. I walked away from it too, and the music just quieted it out and it stopped playing. But as I approached it again, that same mystical, wonderful music started kicking back in. That is just finding new things about this game all the time, I guess. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, I had no idea time and weather were locked behind story progression until recording for this video, as it just never occurred to me that something like this would be held behind story progression. Now that means day can turn into night, and we can see other forms of weather like rain and snow, despite that only happening after you get the paraglider. However, with night, that happens as soon as you unlock the tower. This is a whole different game now, as new enemies pop up out of every which corner as if it's a jump scare from a horror game. Now, most of the main daytime enemies are asleep, opening up for some fun sneak attacks. Opening up on the night creates for exciting new excursions as to keep the player on their toes so they don't get too comfortable with their surroundings. Spawning Keystons to Coblins just show how often this world changes and how you always need to be aware, because if you aren't, you just might get a game over. But back to where we were at. Once the shrines are unlocked, that means you can go at any one at any time and gather some game-altering items like Stasis and Cryonis. Once you leave these shrines, even more possibilities open up to you as there are immediate uses in the overworld for your Sheikah moves. For instance, Stasis being able to be immediately used outside of the shrine with this boulder hiding some valuable treasure. These shrines also, in a way, mirror the actual story at hand, being 4 shrines all on the different corners of the available map, representing all of the options that you have. Right after activating the tower, you can go to the Magnesis Shrine, which presents little in the way of getting there, making arrival pretty much guaranteed, or you can definitely not go there and go to any other shrine on the plateau. The Magnesis Shrine representing Vah Ruta and how the path really isn't too dangerous, all things considered. The other shrines easily prepare you for the other divine beasts, like with the Cryonis Shrine making sure you know to be well prepared for the harsh weather environments, like how you'll be treading with Rudania and Naboris. Getting there without any proper gear is quite the difficult task, but once you know what to do, what foods to mix, or what elixir to drink, getting there won't be as big of a challenge. The Stasis Shrine is up above on a really high cliff, which gets you better used to the mechanics of climbing and stamina management. After you complete every shrine, the Old Man permits you to go to the Temple of Time, where the shrines converge into a pseudo-X, and meet him up there, and it's revealed that he is indeed the late King of Hyrule, King Rhombus. But he explains everything to you, your mission to save Zelda and stop Calamity Ganon from screwing everything up a second time, and gives you the paraglider. Arguably one of the best items in Zelda history, and the game ever so cleverly directs you through a certain window so you can smoothly sail out of the Great Plateau and into the Kingdom of Hyrule. Stepping out here for the first time was truly something else. A magical experience would almost be considered an understatement. The training wheels have been kicked off and it's time to set sail on your grand adventure. Or not, since you don't have to go through that window at all and can go literally anywhere and do anything at this point. Just like age ratings on video games, they're only suggestions and nothing is stopping you from going anywhere and doing anything. And that's what truly sets this game apart from any other open world game that only so few manage to replicate. If I were to sum this up as short as possible, it's that the Great Plateau is an invisible tutorial. The game design is so clever that it's really teaching you things and putting things close together without even registering in your brain that it was deliberately made as a tutorial. It is a masterclass in game design, which is something I can't say for other openings from the Zelda franchise. Like, almost every 3D Zelda has a slow and frankly mediocre opening besides like Majora's Mask, so it's safe to say that we've really come a long way from those days. Especially from openings like Twilight Princess. I mean, come on, that opening is just terrible. I love Breath of the Wild. It has some shortcomings, sure, but out of everything the game has to offer, I feel this is one of the strongest ways to open up a game without relying on anything other than gameplay. Is it an opening as bombastic and epic as God of War Ragnarok, or as tear-jerking as the opening of The Last of Us? Of course not, but that's not what it's trying to be. This game has a focus, and it makes sure to draw you in with every ounce of its being. And it succeeds on every front. At the time of writing this video, Tears of the Kingdom is a little ways away, and it has some very big shoes to fill. But with their track record of the last game, I'm positive that they can pull it off with these. Seriously though, when I say the Great Plateau is good, I mean it is very good. I've replayed this thing about 6 or so times, and just recording for this video, I found out by pure chance that there's a stone talus in the Great Plateau. 6 years later and beyond, this game still manages to surprise me. Seriously, go play this game again.